So 2 days before it all kicks off in Paris, but will Ireland win the World Cup? That's what I'm talking about in this video, and a question that, given that they're the number one team in the world and they're the Grand Slam champions in the Six Nations, I feel that's maybe just going under the radar a little bit. I'll get into that in more detail. Make sure you drop a comment down below, give me your thoughts. Will it be Ireland's year? What an amazing triumph that would end up being if in 7 weeks' time they're hoisting the William Webb Ellis Trophy above their heads at the Stade de France. A long way to go until then, but give me your views in the comments section. Make sure you like the video as well, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. So it seems strange to say it really, that you've got a side that is number one in the world, that were brilliant in the Six Nations, beat everyone before them, and I still feel like when you hear conversations about who's favourites for the World Cup, who's going to win the World Cup, I still think the Springboks and France are the teams that most people speak about, and then they kind of mention the All Blacks as well, and Ireland as a possible contender as well. But I think given where they are and where they have been in the last 2 years of performances, I think Ireland are being a little bit underrated by people in a little way, and I think they'll be perfectly happy with that. I think in many ways this is the World Cup because it's so open that no one really wants to have that favourites tag. No one really wants to have the target on their back, if you like, and they're quite happy to try and go under the radar and just build into the tournament, which I think will suit Ireland pretty well, really. But I just find that interesting, and I've been guilty of that myself. This is the first kind of dedicated Ireland video that I've done on the channel for ages, I think, maybe even since Six Nations. I can't remember exactly. So I think they are, in a weird way, even though how good they are and how good they've been and all the teams they've beaten, just going under the radar a little bit, which, as I say, I think will suit Ireland fans absolutely perfectly. I think a big part of this, though, and a big reason for it, is how good are Ireland right now? I'm not talking about the Six Nations. I'm not talking about over the last 18 months or so, right at this moment in time. And I think that's maybe part of the reason that people just don't know. We're not sure quite yet because Ireland have been able to have a series of World Cup warm-ups that they haven't had as many as other teams. They've rotated, and because they got Romania first up, then Tonga before playing South Africa, and then Scotland, they can build into this World Cup in a way that other teams haven't been able to, like Scotland and South Africa, for example, whereas those teams have had to make sure that first game this weekend, when they face each other, that they're on their top form to be able to get a result in that game. Ireland can just kind of take their time and approach things a little bit differently. So I think the fact they've had less warm-ups and quite a lot of rotation as well means right now we don't know exactly how this Ireland team are playing. I know they're a good team. I'm not questioning their overall credentials of how they can win the World Cup. But I just think in terms of their form right now from the warm-up games, we're not too sure exactly where they are, which again could be a strength, could be a detriment. We'll wait and see. But as I have said already in the video, over the last couple of years, I think Ireland are the best team in the world. Like, I think they've earned that tag. They've beaten everyone. They've won a Six Nations Grand Slam. And importantly, I think a really big result for them, if we do end up looking back at this World Cup and Ireland winning it or Ireland getting to a final, the kind of moment of belief for them may well have been that series in New Zealand last year, where they went one game down in a 3-match series away from home at the end of the Northern Hemisphere season. There are plenty of Irish teams, and in fact, plenty of Northern Hemisphere international teams that in the past wouldn't have been able to come back and win that series against the All Blacks, and they were able to. I think that's kind of the thing of just breathing life into them, and is very reminiscent, actually, if you look back at England before they won the 2003 World Cup, of going to New Zealand and winning there, beating Australia in Australia, beating the best teams in the world away from home. And I suppose the one team that maybe they haven't been able to do that to is the French, because they lost to them in the Six Nations before this year's one in Paris. So that could be an interesting matchup if we get that in the quarterfinals. But I do think this is an Irish team that will have belief. And I know everyone talks about the quarterfinal and can Ireland get past the quarterfinal. I've said it before on this channel. If Ireland don't get past the quarterfinal, if they get knocked out in the groups, or if they were to lose in a quarterfinal, it's not going to be because of some inability to perform at World Cups or them choking or anything like that. I don't think. It'll be simply because they are on a side of the draw that is brutally tough to get out of. Because I actually think this Andy Farrell Ireland team is different. I think it is the best Irish team that we've ever seen. I think the patterns of their attack, what they do with the ball, how dangerous they are, and just how good they are overall in terms of their systems. I think they're a real systems team, and they execute them brilliantly. So I think Ireland can win this World Cup. Whether they will, well, as I say, they've got such a difficult draw to get out of that we'll have to wait and see. And of course, the other thing on the back of this is the return of Johnny Sexton. He is now available. He can play against Romania this weekend. He has to play, surely. They have to get a lot of minutes into him over these first couple of matches. And Ireland with and without Johnny Sexton, I think, are two different beasts. I know a lot of Ireland fans feel that they're better now without him than they once were, and I think that is true. But I still think if they're to win this World Cup, they need Johnny Sexton in form. And that is a big question mark. I mean, he hasn't played since the end of the Six Nations. So it's been about 6 months out, a combination of injury and obviously his ban as well. So what his form is like and how quickly they can get him close to his best form, I think is going to be pretty key for Ireland for how they do in Pool B, but also how they do in the competition as a whole. That would be a big, big question mark if I was an Ireland fan that I would be looking at. But overall, will Ireland win the World Cup? I think they have every chance. But as I've said in every other video, I think I've predicted the All Blacks a couple of times to win it. Maybe that's looking foolish now after what happened at Twickenham against the Springboks. You got France at home, obviously South Africa as well. It is a fascinating World Cup because of the amount of teams that can genuinely win it. It's going to depend who turns up at the tournament, who's in form, and who can build into their form as well. And maybe that's where Ireland will be suited. The fact that they've got Romania and Tonga gives them a chance to build before that big game against South Africa. Then they have a 2-week break, and then they face Scotland in their final pool game. So in terms of the fixtures in that pool, as tough as they are, I think they've worked out quite nicely for Ireland. Will they win the World Cup? Well, you can let me know in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me that they are flying under the radar a little bit? Which is a bit strange considering their credentials, considering their CV. Like if it was another nation that had more World Cup pedigree than Ireland, I didn't think there's any way that they would be going under the radar in quite the way that this Irish team are at the moment. But I don't know, maybe they'll put 60 points on Romania week 1 and nil them, and everyone will all of a sudden turn their attention to them and say, geez, Ireland look good. I think that's very possible as well. I think the World Cup's going to be fascinating though. I fly out to France tomorrow, into Paris. Cannot wait to get out there. It's going to be really, really exciting. And let me know, will Ireland win the World Cup? Are they underrated? Are they flying under the radar? Could this be their year? That would be an unbelievable achievement. If buts, maybes at this stage, but it's quite fun to think about them. So I look forward to reading your comments. Make sure you drop a thumbs up on the video as well, and also subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.